When it all comes down to it, a protest against a provincial government, a municipal government, a federal government in Canada needs four things. They need a bunch of good organizers, a basic plan, an ability to get the word out, and also the ability to ask the media to cover it as objectively as possible. Now, the transport blockades in Ottawa that really recently wrapped up over the last few weeks had none of those. Now, as a journalist, I've been working 40 years in the province. Part of my expertise is covering protests. I covered a 5-year protest in Beldoon, New Brunswick against a Bennett environmental site, which was a project that was backed by Brian Mulroney and Donald Trump supporters. John Bennett was sent to jail for carpetbagging, and basically Trump pardoned him, but that's not the point here. The EI protests in Dalhousie, the protests of lack of jobs about the Route 11 project in Northern Brunswick between Bathurst and Campbellton, the CGC strike, Solutions International incidents, the Beldoon smelter strikes through the years. They all had the factor. They would have a protest site, the media would be informed, you would have a plan, have announcements. There was none of this in Ottawa. There were no celebrity endorsers. There was no plan to let the media know exactly what they were trying to say. They're all obsessed with the fact, oh, fake news, fake news. Ladies and gentlemen, there's so much media in Canada that it's not owned by the CBC. It could choke a pig that would be on a spit at these protests. Global, TVO, TVA, you could have invited Fox News to cover it, although it wouldn't be objective. There was no Fox News crews there. They basically decided that the cops had to be sent in to regulate it and cordon off and send them home. They said they were going to die there because they were, fighting against vaccine mandates and all that entails and taking away rights. But beforehand, going there thinking by sending a petition to the Governor General they're going to disband the government, that Trudeau was going to be arrested, that they're all going to die in the lines and the cops are going to shoot them. Ladies and gentlemen, it took 4 days to take down the protesters and remove the transports and the vehicles and all the debris. 4 days. How many people injured? Maybe one? According to Fox News, there was a Clydesdale being written by an RCMP that caused an injury. RCMP don't ride Clydesdales. Why in the hell would be a Clydesdale be at a protest in Canada if you had a Budweiser commercial, if you got a good agent? So, yes, they pepper sprayed people and, they had some takedowns, but I've covered protests before where 45 of 200 protesters were injured by only 15 cops. Now, here's the deal. They said they were going to die there. Where are they tonight in Ottawa? Well, they're in encampments outside of Ottawa, but they decided to spill their own blood in the snow to stop the vaccine mandates. Everybody knows that within a few months across Canada, people are going to be getting away from the mandates because the Canadian economy can't take 3 fiscal years in this malaise and this situation. We're going to have to make it an endemic rather than a pandemic because, yes, people will die, but you can't keep the economy of Canada blockaded. Now, the Windsor blockade and the Coutts blockade, it made a little bit of sense because if you want to block a border, you get more attention. But instead of sending more people to the border if they're going to hijack the situation, they were sending 2,000 to 4,000 people in trucks and vehicles that people can study their license plate and take their name down. Now, I don't think all the protesters knew that the Conservative Party of Canada passed a revised version of the War Measures Act. This was passed by the Mulroney government late 80s, early 90s. They probably had no idea where you can set up a law that you could, check where money is going and cut back on civil liberties until peace is restored. So all these people who went to the protest are saying, they're going to go home and do all kind of these things later on. Maybe so, maybe not. It's hard to tell. But here's what I want to tell everybody. Trump lost, and Trudeau won another election against a Conservative Party, or the majority of these battlers were Conservative. The QAnons and the conspiracy theorists and everybody else, they cannot keep the momentum. Majority of the people in Ottawa were there for a party to basically say, let's do this and that and whatever. But ladies and gentlemen, all the cops that were insulted on the line and doing all kind of stuff, Funny, not one of them responded. Why do you think is that? Well, if you're treating people who are mentally ill or basically misguided, you don't hit the mentally ill person. If a mentally ill person is in front of a cop that they're freaking out, they're basically trying to be as gentle as possible. There was literally 4,000 to 6,000 partially or fully mentally ill people at that protest in Ottawa. And thank God most of them went home, because there's not enough crazy houses to put these people in. What they were talking about, they were saying, oh, Trudeau should be up for execution if that woman is really dead. You know, they had a rumor that a woman was trampled by the horse. You can't just put a person up for murder because one of these federal officials accidentally hurt somebody or killed somebody. It don't work that way. There's general law. And by the way, this is a Commonwealth system in Canada. For our listeners in the States, there was one representative who was saying my First Amendment rights were taken away. There's no First Amendment rights in Canada. It's a Commonwealth system. And saying, if you lose a vote, it'll be a new government. No, they have to have another election. You're even a bunch in the States, Fucker Carlson, as I call him. Well, I might as well Fucker Carlson. Doesn't know anything about Canada. And even a part-time VJ who's now a right-winger was making fun of Trudeau, who do War Measures Act. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you ever dealt with CSIS. I have in different RCMP. They're well-trained people. They're better than soldiers. If you do anything out of the way. Good thing, as a journalist who was on the line, I'm Aboriginal. I didn't look Aboriginal enough. I was scared I was going to get a shit kicking, because you know how RCMP treat First Nation people across Canada. It's not with gentle hands, is it? So, ladies and gentlemen, as the hockey game goes on right now, it's in the third period with 10 minutes to go. Pierre Elliott Trudeau's son 5, the Truckers 1. And until they can really get the power play going, maybe they might try something in May or June. But can I ask you a question? If you took a show of hands, let's say you get somebody from a Rhino Party of Canada with a megaphone in French and English. Okay, all the people here, how many people raised their hands got the CERB from Trudeau? Maybe 70%? So didn't he not take the money they got from Trudeau to use in the protests? Think about that for a second. Most of the money that allowed him to go to Ottawa came from CERB money or some type of federal system, unemployment or whatever. It boggles the mind, isn't it? Remember how Trudeau extended the unemployment? You didn't need as many hours, so that means if it's not the CERB, they're on quick unemployment. So if you took time off their jobs, right? So it means that Trudeau bankrolled 2 years of funding for these people, and they're trying to hurt them. Fascinating, fascinating. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, Russia invading Ukraine, right? As soon as this happened, no media in the States is covering what happened in Canada. There's not been a boo. Because World War III definitely is much more important than a bunch of people with gas cans and hot tubs and children used as human shields. You don't know how to protest. God bless his soul. Florian Levesque told me once, the organizer of the Better protest, he passed away. He said, we got celebrity endorsers. Bruce Colburn, Kayush, Kevin Perron. He did a promo record to benefit funds to stop the plant. And you know what happened? He stopped the plant. If they would have went to Joe Rogan and said, listen, Joe, help us out. No, they went to the GoFundMe page and then a religious version of the GoFundMe page. You can track down that money through the federal government. Instead of getting a direct donation for one person, you get direct donations from thousands. I'm sure there's people in the States and Canada shitting in their boots right now, thinking that Trudeau's going to get them. But as one CBC reporter said, they were incredulous. When they were started being arrested, they couldn't believe it, because he never thought they would be arrested, because they were said you'll be protected. You weren't going to be protected. So it was a shit show. Now, the terminology of a shit show sometimes distinct is around for a while, and maybe so. But this is not like January 6th in the States. That was a real deal, Hollyfield. I don't know what this was. Disorganized chaos? Is that even a term anymore in media? By the way, my former parent company was sold this week, Brunswick News, to the Ottawa Citizens, the most controversial media company in all of Canada. Was that big news across Canada? No, there was other news going on. Montreal Canadiens winning 3 straight. A miracle. They bet Toronto. That's real news. This thing in Ottawa there, eh? If they go back, say just going to turn the lights back on again. To get the rats, by the way, you have to turn the light on the rats. And every person that donated the first time, they're going to be in somebody else's file, just like the FBI was with John Lennon, if you know your history. So, ladies and gentlemen, as it stands right now, On February 23rd, 2022, Montreal might win 4 straight. Russia's getting invaded to another part of Ukraine, and the streets of Ottawa are somewhat quieter. And that nice coffee restaurant that you used to go to in Ottawa, I heard it reopened because that was the biggest thing CBC was saying. Now that they're gone, I can go back to this coffee shop. What a Canadian thing to say. Does Fox News think like that? By the way, if anybody at Fox News is listening to their podcast, go fuck yourself. That's the only language you understand. And I challenge you to have a call-in show involving Canadian call-ins to your show. Give us a half hour a night. We will fuck you up royal. No joke intended. Thanks for listening. Bye.